I'm Kirsty and I'm Wellbeing Officer at Derbyshire Wildlife Trust, and I'm here today in our lovely Whistle Stop Centre to show you how you can start connecting with nature from within your very own home. Today we are looking at how we can switch on our 5 senses and noticing how it makes us feel when we use our senses to connect with the nature around us. For this activity you can do it from within your very own home, which is where we're going to start today. And then if you feel inspired to step out a little from your doorstep out into nature outside, I'll show you how you can take this activity with you a little later in the video. With the activity today, it might inspire you to start feeling a little bit creative, and if that is the case, then I have an optional activity that you might want to join in with. However, if you don't want to do that, it's absolutely fine. You can still get loads out of the video by just noticing the sensations and how you feel with the nature around you. If you do want to join in with the full activity, what we're going to be doing is some really easy, simple nature writing. And to join in with that, I've just got a bit of paper and a pencil with me today. So it can be anything to make notes on. It might be paper and pen like me, it might be maybe on your phone, or if you don't particularly like or want to write, maybe you could even do a voice recording. If you do want to join in with this, I'll be giving simple writing prompts throughout the video, but if you don't want to do the writing side, that's fine, you can just ignore those little bits and join in with the rest. To start this activity, all you need is a natural object that you can start focusing on. It can be absolutely anything that you feel drawn to. It might be stepping towards your window and having a look outside, or it might be something that's within your home. So I've got a few examples around me today that you might find in your own home. We have got some little pictures with nature on, so this is actually just a view looking down a local street. But it's got trees and it's got a nice hillscape on it. Got some little cuddly toys that make nice bird sounds. So it doesn't have to be a lifelike example of nature, it might be something that just inspires that feeling or that experience of when you spent time outside. We've got a little wooden key ring that's on some keys. That's really nice because when we're switching on our senses, it's really tactile, so you can really engage with that. We've got some nice house plants, some nice books with images of nature. If you don't have a book or a picture already in your own home, what you could do is use the internet to look something up, or maybe you might find a video with some nature on, or even have a look through the TV guide and take notice of when the next nature programme's on, and you might wait and do this activity while you're watching that. If you really feel like you haven't got anything at all in your home, one thing that you might have that you've not thought about as nature is fruit or vegetables. So all our fruit and vegetables have grown out in nature somewhere, so they are totally part of nature. So I've just got an apple today. And I'm going to use this apple in the activity to show you that it doesn't have to be anything fancy, it can be just something really simple and basic, and it's accessible to everybody. If you would like to join in with the writing prompts, it will help if you want to set your page out like mine, just while we get started, and then we can work through the activities together. And you can follow along with the video. So I've just got a simple piece of A4 paper folded in half here. It might be a notebook, as I say, maybe you're jotting down on your phone, something like that. And the first thing it will be helpful to do is just pop the date down. So I'm just going to write the date and where you are, so your location. So we're at the Derbyshire Wildlife Trust Whistle Stop Centre today. So if you're at home, you might just make a note that you're at home, maybe depending what room you're in, you might just jot that down. And what this means is that if you really enjoy this activity and you decide to do it a few times, you can actually put all these together and you'll be creating your own nature journal. So then it's really nice if you can just flip back and remind yourself where you were and when you had these experiences. And then what we're going to be doing is switching on our 5 senses. So just to remind us of what those are, we'll start by writing them down the side of the page in a first column. So we're going to be switching on our powers of sight, our hearing or listening, our smell, taste and touch. And you can see it doesn't have to be super neat. No one else is going to see this. This is just purely for you. So just scribble it down however suits you. And as we switch these on, we're first of all going to notice what experience we have in the moment that we're taking note of each of these senses. So for the next column, so that I'll be writing it down next to each of the senses, I'm going to write in this moment, I experienced ... And then once we've paid attention to what we're experiencing, we're then going to think about how that makes us feel. So what emotion arises in us. So then I'm just going to put, this made me feel ... And with this activity, you can see that we're actually engaging with the 5 ways to wild well-being in terms of taking notice. So using our senses is a really great way to do that. And we're also looking at the 5 pathways to nature connection. And for that one, we're looking at emotion, so how we feel when we're out in nature. So now we've got that, we can get started with our sensory activity. And as I say, this is totally optional, so if you don't want to do this, it's still really valuable to just join in with the experiencing the sensations. After all, this is all about helping you feel good in nature, so it's whatever you are going to enjoy most. You might want to pause the video, find a nice, comfortable, quiet spot to sit, and choose whichever object you want to focus on from within your home. You might now be thinking, well, if we're using our senses of touch and things like that, you need something you can physically touch, but that's not necessarily the case. If you are using a photo or a video, you can just use your imagination of what it might feel like to reach out and touch something in that photo. So yeah, have a little look round and I'll meet you back once you have found your comfortable spot. Okay, so we're back and hopefully you've now got your chosen object. So we'll begin our sensory journey. I'm going to start now by using this image here, and then once I've run through this with you and shown you how a picture will work, I'll then go through with an apple just to show how simple this can all be. So if you are joining in with the writing prompts, you will now have a quick note of what our 5 senses are and what order we're going to be going in. But if you're not doing that, actually we all have something on us to help remind us, and that is how our senses are all set out. So we're going to start at the top of our face with our eyes, and we're going to pay attention to what we can see. We're then going to go down to our ears and notice what we can hear, or use our imagination to what we might be able to hear. We're then going to go to our nose for the smell, our mouth for taste, and then down to our fingertips to remind us to think about what we'd feel. For taste today, if you are using something edible, like a piece of fruit, like I'm going to be doing, you might physically taste it, but if not, what we'll do is we'll start breathing through our mouths rather than our nose, and just noticing how the air tastes. So don't worry if this is all sounding a bit odd to start with and you're not sure how it's going to work. We'll just go through together one at a time. If there's any points that you don't feel able to join in with, or they're not resonating with you, no problem at all. You can just miss that bit out and just enjoy having an excuse to sit and take a bit of time out for yourself, and then just carry on joining in whenever you're ready. So we'll make a start. I'm going to share this picture with you as well. So if you haven't managed to find something, maybe you join in with me with this picture now. So we're going to make a start by switching on our sight and noticing what we can see. With this picture here, to start with, you might just quickly think green, twigs, but actually if you start looking really closely, we've got all these different shades of green, all these different colours of brown. You might notice how the light plays on whatever object you've chosen. And if you do want to join in with the writing prompts, just let a word or two come to mind that describes what you're seeing right now. And if you want to jot those words down to get a little bit creative potentially later, now is the moment to do that. For me, in this picture, the word that springs to mind, two words, vibrant green. This is my personal favourite colour in the world, that colour of a little bit of light shining through a lovely new spring leaf, and to me that's just like the colour of life. I love it. So my word is going to be vibrant green. And then the next writing prompt is noticing how it makes us feel. And my word for this one, as I just mentioned, for me it symbolises life, so I'm going to choose the word alive. If you need a little longer with any of these moments, you can always just pause the video and then play again whenever you're ready. But we're now all going to move down to our smell. No, we're not, sorry, I've missed one out already. We're moving from our eyes out to our ears and what we can hear. So of course I can't listen to the picture, but what I can do is use my imagination. I can think about what kind of day do I think this might be. So it looks like a lovely spring day. I can imagine the breeze through the trees and maybe that gentle rustle of leaves. If you are using something like a plant, you might gently like rustle the leaves. Things like we've got a couple of stones down here, something like this. See if you can interact with it to get a little sound out. And if you want to jot a word down, how would you describe that sound? So for me, imagining this breeze, I would use the word rustle. And again, what word would you use to describe how that sound makes you feel? So for me, if I imagine listening to that sound of the breeze on a cool, fresh spring day, it makes me feel refreshed. So that's going to be my word. And then moving down to our noses and thinking about smells and scents. So again, it might be that you're using something that you can physically pick up and smell, or that you can move to and smell, and just gently breathe through your nose and just notice how the air travels through your nose, and can you really tell like where you pick up that scent? It's not really something that we necessarily pay attention to, where we feel these sensations, so now's just an interesting moment to be curious. No right or wrong answer, just see if you can notice. I'm imagining in my little spring woodland here, I don't know why, but I'm feeling maybe it's rained recently, and I can almost smell that like damp earthy woodland smell. Love that smell. And again, does the smell you're experiencing or thinking about right now make you feel a particular way? It might not do, and you don't have to write a word for every prompt if you don't want to, but if it does make you feel something, jot it down. So for me, interestingly, that smell of woodland, I love how it reminds me of being out in the woods when I was a child actually, and how no matter how many years pass, whenever it rains, the wood still smells the same. So I'm totally doing this along with you right now, but interestingly, the word that springs to mind for how this smell makes me feel is, and it's not really an emotion, but the word is memory. So I'm going to go with it and I'm going to jot that down. So next we're going to move down again, and we are now on taste. So if you have something you can taste, do make sure it is edible. So if you're not sure, don't taste it. And if it isn't something you can actually taste, all we're going to do is start breathing through our mouths and just let the air travel over your tongue. And again, see if you can notice the sensations, like where can you feel the air and how far can you feel it go down. This is a really interesting one to try in different places. So if you're sat inside at the moment, maybe after this video you could go to an open window and breathe the air in there and see if you notice any difference. And again, if you want to join in with the writing prompts, just jot a word down now. So for me, the air feels quite cool where I am right now. So I'm going to put the word cool. And I imagine the air in this imaginary woodland as well would also feel the same, quite cool. And again, if that makes you feel anything or have an emotion, you might want to jot that word down now as well. And we're finally going to move right down into our fingertips and notice sensations. So it might be that you physically reach out with your fingertips. Especially for this one, while we're inside, that's probably the easiest way to engage with your object. Or again, imagine. So if I imagine I'm reaching into this picture, the twig would feel quite rough. I'd be able to feel all those little bumps. And I imagine the lovely new spring leaf would feel really soft. So I think my words are going to be soft and rough, and just think about those opposites. And again, if that makes you feel something, you can jot that down as well. So for me with this, just that I can really feel that soft texture of the leaf on my fingertips in my imagination, and it makes my body feel soft as well, and actually sort of gives me that sensation of softness. So my word for that one is going to be softness. And that's it. We now have each of our 5 senses switched on. We have paid attention to some nature around us, and we've thought about how that makes us feel. If you now feel inspired and you want to go a little bit deeper into this writing activity, we can use these words to start forming a bit more nature writing, whether it's a paragraph about your experiences today or even a poem. So we're going to get into that a little bit later. So if you do want to fast forward to that now, that's totally fine, you can do that. But I'm now also going to show you how to go through this activity with an apple, and then once we've finished inside, we're going to go outside and show you how to take this activity outside, and then after that I'll get to the creative element and show you how to turn this into your very own nature writing. We'll run through again now using another object just to show you the difference. So this time I'm going to use my apple. And I bet if you have a little look in your kitchen, or if you haven't got anything in already, next time you're out shopping, why not choose a nice bit of fruit or a vegetable that you like the look of, and you could have a go at this activity with that as well. So again, first of all, we are going to use our eyes and switch on our sight. So with something as simple as an apple, actually, if you start zooming in and looking a bit closer, you might spot things you've never noticed before. So this is quite a nice shiny apple, so it's got light playing on it. It's a reddy green apple, so it's got lots of speckles. So whatever object you're using this time, can you spot something about it that you've never noticed before? So I must say, I haven't really paid attention on an apple before to all these little speckles. It's almost like my apple's got little polka dots. And again, just like before, if this brings a feeling to you, a word that explains an emotion, or whatever word comes to mind, you might want to jot it down as well. So the thing that I've noticed here is speckles, and this makes me feel curious because I've never really noticed them before. What causes them? So speckles and curious. Jot down your words if you want to. We're then going to move outwards to our ears and again think about the sound. So last time with the picture I used my imagination, but this time I'm going to interact with my apple and see if I can get it to make a sound. So I'm just going to start by bringing it up to my ear and tapping it and noticing. Surprisingly, well, I know it's not hollow, but it almost has that sort of drumming kind of sound. Or if I can concentrate, if I just rub it, that makes a nice sound as well. And again, jot down however you experience that sound. So for me, that word is going to be drum. And again, if a word springs to mind on how that makes you feel, jot that down. So my word, related to the last word of curiosity, but interest. I find it quite interesting that this apple sounds a bit like a drum. And next, down to our nose and our scent. So I'm going to see if I can smell my apple. Smells really sweet, delicious. I think I will have that as my word actually, sweet. How would you describe the scent of whatever you're experiencing right now? And again, how do you feel in this moment with this experience? So although I'm not hungry as such, but this is making me look forward to tasting. So although it's not an emotion, it's how I feel in this moment tasting. So again, there's no right or wrong answers. Sometimes words just come to you and just go with it, that's fine, just jot it down. So exciting, we're now moving down to our taste, and with this one, because I've got something that's definitely edible, I am actually going to take a bite and taste it, and rather than just quickly chewing and swallowing like we might do if we're in a rush and we're having a quick snack or whatever, we don't always notice the sensations and the taste. I'm going to spend a moment, like how we did when we were breathing through our mouths and letting the air travel over our tongue and noticing the sensations. I'm going to have a little nibble and then let the apple sit on my tongue for a moment. Notice where the taste registers, notice the texture. So bear with me a moment. That is a nice juicy apple. So again, whether you're physically tasting something or you're letting that air travel over your tongue, how would you describe that? So for me with this apple, my word is crisp. It's lovely and crispy. And again, how would that make you feel? So that experience makes me feel quite refreshed actually. That nice little sweet burst to just perk me up. And then again, finally, we're thinking about going out to our fingertips and switching on our sense of touch. So we're just going to reach out with whatever our subject may be, and just notice whether you can feel different textures. There might be different parts on your object. Some of it might feel strong and sturdy, some of it might feel more flexible and soft. And I can actually feel these little bumps that I noticed earlier. If I really focus, I can just about feel them. It's quite, it almost tickles. So I think my word this time for my experience in this moment is going to be tickle. And if you have to think about how you feel in this moment with this experience, what would that be? And for me, the word giggle springs to mind with that sort of tickle. So it's the first time I'm doing it with you live on camera now, so I feel like some unusual words have come out for me with this apple. But that's the beauty of this activity, you never quite know what's going to come out. And it's like the nature is actually engaging with us, so it's like a two-way street. You don't know what it's going to inspire in you. So there we go. Again, you have now switched on your 5 senses, and you'll now have, if you've joined in with the writing prompts, another list of interesting words that we'll be able to use in our creative activity later. So now you've been through the activity a couple of times, hopefully you feel confident in what you're doing now, and if you want to, you can take this outside, which we're going to do right now. So I invite you to come on out and join us in the sunshine. We're outside now, and I am going to show you how you can do this activity anywhere outside. It doesn't have to be a really wild place. You might just go to an open window or onto your doorstep or into your local green space. As you can see here, and you might be able to hear as well, we're in a small garden space, but we're actually next to a car park, we're next to quite a busy road, and we're also near a train line, so you might get a few non-nature noises in, but just to show, nature is around us in surprising places, including in urban areas, so you'll definitely be able to find some outside somewhere near you. And all we're going to do now we're outside, again, you want to find a place that you can get comfortable and be still and quiet for a little while. So I found this bench today to sit on. So you might find a bench, or you might take a mat out and sit on the grass if it's a nice dry day. We have a nice sunny day to come out particularly this afternoon, but you can do this activity in all different weathers. It's really interesting to try it in the rain. Just make sure that you're dressed appropriately, so if you've got a waterproof coat, that's great, or if you haven't, just put a lot of layers on and you can always take an umbrella out and carry that little shelter around with you. Or if you don't feel comfortable, just wait till it's the kind of weather that you're happy to go out in, and that's totally fine. Again, we are going to run through our 5 senses and switch them on, and we can still do our writing prompts outside as well. So I've got my piece of paper ready, and I've just again got my column for writing the senses down, which I'll do in a moment. And we're thinking about how we feel and what we experienced. So I'm going to start by jotting down sight. So we're again going to move down from sight to listening to smell, taste, and out to our fingertips to touch. Rather than looking inwards and at our items quite close up, which we were doing inside, now we're outside, it's a really nice opportunity to stretch our vision and really notice what's going on around us. So we could start by just having a look around and see what the furthest thing is that you can see. Like, how far can you see away from yourself? It might be looking up to the clouds or out to the treetops. I've got a lovely view of some nice twilighty blue sky this afternoon. And then gradually you can just bring your focus slowly back towards you, so notice what's in the middle distance. We've got trees here, we've got a lovely building with some mosses on, and gradually keep bringing your focus closer and closer, and then just notice what's really close to you. So I've got some lovely sage leaves on a herb here, we've got really nice variety of leaves on the floor, and you can just bring your focus in quite close. And now we've switched our sight on, just let your gaze wander around and just choose one thing that really stands out to you, that you like the look of. So it might be something you can pick up, or it might be something you can walk towards to have a closer look at. And just have a little look at what you've chosen and think about why you've chosen it, what's really interesting about it. Maybe it's the shapes or the colours or the patterns. I've just found this old seed pod, and it's starting to rot away and leave the skeleton of the wing, which that is really beautiful, the patterns. So again, if you want to join in the prompts for the nature writing, you could just choose a word or two to describe what you're looking at right now and what's drawn you to this particular item. So I think I'm going to actually write a small sentence this time, so to remind myself what I'm talking about, and I'm going to jot down a patterned seed pod. Pop it down there. And again, how does it make you feel? So for this one, looking at all this beautiful pattern, it reminds me how creative nature is just naturally, and I find this quite inspiring. Like, I could imagine this sparking some creative inspiration in me at some point. So I'm going to choose the word inspired. And I'm just popping all these down just in those 3 columns like we did with our activities inside. So next we're going to move down to our ears and notice what we can hear and listen to. So outside it might be a little bit harder to focus on the nature sounds, but if you can, first of all you can just let your ears wander and just notice the different sounds in which direction they're coming from. And then it takes a little bit of practice, but you might be able to start moving your focus away from man-made sounds such as the traffic noise and focusing on those nature sounds. So I'm really lucky today, I've got some beautiful birdsong accompanying me. You might have something like crunchy leaves underfoot, or again the breeze in the trees. So just notice one natural sound and jot it down if you want to. So I have birdsong. And again, how's that sound make you feel in this moment? I love a bit of bird sound, it makes me feel quite cheerful, so that's going to be my word, cheerful. We're next going to move down to our noses and our smell. And again, just like we did inside, you can just breathe through your nose and notice where you can sense different aromas. You might move around your space if it's somewhere that you can do that and try smelling different things, maybe the soil, or if you've got any nice plants nearby. So I am sat next to a little herb planter, so I have some lovely sage here that I can smell. So I've just picked a little leaf off and I'm just going to give it a rub to release the oils and the scent. It's a really nice smell. Again, you might want to pop a word down for how you would describe it. I'm struggling a bit. Smells like sage, it's a really unique kind of smell. It's quite savoury, reminds me sort of roast dinners, so I think I'm going to pop the word savoury down. And how does that smell make you feel? Maybe it's an energising smell, maybe it's a calming smell. So I think the smell of this makes me feel quite cosy. I think it's that idea of like roast dinners and cozying in on an autumn day. I'm going to go with it, say cosy. And then again, we're going to move down to our taste. So outside, this is a really good opportunity to practice that technique of breathing through our mouths and letting the air just waft over our tongue, and see if you can notice how far the air travels down into your lungs. And the air out here today, it's almost a little bit smoky. It's got that sense of being out on a cool day. Seems like maybe some people have got some log burners going. There's almost that like bonfire-y scent in the air, so I can almost taste that. So I'm going to go with that for taste. Smoky. And again, how's that taste make you feel? How is the air seeming to you today? It might be crisp where you are, it might be quite warm and gentle. What word would you match to how it makes you feel? So again, for me, that kind of smoky, autumny, even though we're in early spring, it does remind me of autumn. it still makes me feel quite cozy, so I think I'm going to just go double coziness. Just let whatever word inspires you to come to you. And then finally we're going to move out to that sense of touch and notice our textures. So you might wander around your outside space and just let your fingers be drawn to wherever they may be to feel different textures. Just be mindful of where you are. If there's anything prickly or anything that might sting you, like nettles, just make sure that you're conscious of what you're touching and don't touch anything you're not sure about. But it might be the natural material, so we've got a lovely wooden bench here that I can reach out and feel the grains. And again, these lovely soft leaves, nice twigs, smooth new twigs. And then let your fingers wander and then just let them settle on whatever texture you feel most drawn to. So I'm feeling drawn to the bench right now. And I can feel all the grain in this wood. So how would you describe what you're touching right now? So you might describe what it is that you're actually touching, whether it's a tree or a leaf. Or again, you might choose a word to describe the texture, perhaps. For me, I'm noticing the grains and how they feel in this wood, so I'm just going to pop the word grains down. Well, I might put wood grain, so I know. And if that springs to mind any type of emotion, or it makes you feel a particular way, feel free to jot a word down for that. So for me, looking at the grains on this bench, it makes me feel quite connected. It's almost like I'm reading the story of this piece of wood. I can see where it's grown, I can think about how has it been processed to get here to provide me this comfortable seat right in this moment. So I am going to choose the word connected. And there we go. Yet again, we have now switched on our 5 senses. We have another sort of table of words that we can then use in our creative activity. And you can keep redoing this. Now that you know, say if you're stood waiting for the bus or the train, or you're walking to work through a park and you have a moment to pause, you can quickly just switch on those 5 senses, notice your experience and maybe notice how it feels. And as you get more and more used to doing that, you'll notice what makes you feel really good, and then you can hopefully start weaving a bit more of that into your daily life. So hopefully you've enjoyed these activities, and if that's enough for you today, that's totally fine. Hopefully you've got a lot out of it. But if you want to keep going, we can now turn these words into something a little bit more creative. Maybe get going with a few poems and a little bit of nature writing. So we're going to head back indoors now, and I will show you how to join in with that if you want to. So I'll see you back in there. We're back inside now, and I'm going to introduce the little creative challenge. Again, totally optional, and remember, this is totally just for you, so you don't have to show anybody, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece, it can be just fun to have a go. Put some words together, have a play, see what comes out. You might just surprise yourself. One way you can do this is to just look back at the words you've chosen, and maybe you put those into a couple of sentences, to just jot down a little paragraph about your experience today. Or maybe you go one step further, and I'm going to invite you to write a little poem about what's happened today. Now, a poem doesn't have to rhyme, it doesn't have to be in a certain style or have any particular structure. It is totally just whatever you want to write, and it's what's meaningful to you. So just let it come from the heart and it'll be the right thing. If you do like to have a little bit of a structure, like I do, I just find it helps my creativity. One little quick poem that's quite fun to have a go at is a haiku. And what that is it's a 3-line poem. The first line is always 5 syllables. The second line is 7 syllables, and then the third line is back to 5 syllables. If you've not heard of the word syllable before, it is the rhythm of a word. So how many sounds you can break a word down into, and you can tell by seeing what you'd be able to tap out. So for example, my name, Kirsty Barker, is Kirsty Barker. So that would be 4 syllables. As I say, this is totally optional, so if this is feeling a bit too hard now, just do your own poem, that's totally fine. But I am going to have a little go at a haiku using the words that I've just collected from my experience outside. So while I do that, why don't you pause the video and have a little go at writing your own poem or nature paragraph. A reminder of my words from that time we've just spent outside then. I had pattern seed pod that made me feel inspired, bird song that made me feel cheerful, savoury that felt cosy, smoky that felt cosy again, and the wood grain that made me feel connected. So you don't only have to use these words, you might add in other words, and you don't have to use them all either. It's just a little pool of words that you can pick from to help inspire your creativity. My little haiku that I've come up with is: patterns inspire me, a seed of connection grows, bird's cheerful song soothes. If you have enjoyed this and you keep doing it in different places, different locations, on different days, you'll have a whole book of poetry that you've managed to create all yourself. And it can be really surprising how creative you can get. So hopefully you've enjoyed your time with me today. I hope that you now start noticing lots more nature around you and become a bit more aware of how it makes you feel. And I look forward to seeing you soon for another Nature Connection video to learn things you can do within your very own home or on your very own doorstep to help connect with the nature all around you.